I'm so glad you clicked on this video. That means that you're interested in making one of these blankets, and I hope you do, because they're beautiful. Like, they really are beautiful. I really truly have sold a lot of them, and this is one of the patterns that I make. I'll be posting more patterns as I grow in my video channel. This is a new channel, of course, and so please like and subscribe and get the word out there, and I will be posting more. And hit the notification button too if you like, so that whenever I post you can see what I've got for you there. But in this particular tutorial, we're making this blanket. You've seen it in the pictures that came before I got on here, and they really are beautiful. They're 40 by 42 inches in size. And they are, of course, a double thickness. I use Craft Smart yarn for these blankets. I love Craft Smart yarn. And this particular one here is spa and white. So I use 2.5 balls of spa and 2.5 balls of white to complete this project. And then maybe not quite 2.5 balls, but you need to buy 3 balls in order, so you have enough. And then I do a V-stitch border around the outside of it, starting with 1 row of single crochet, and the instructions for that are down in the description below. So this is the spa and the white one. I also want to show you the this one. It's also Craft Smart yarn. It's blush and white. Again, same amount of yarn because it's the same size. But I've done the border twice as thick on this one, so I used both colors. I did 2 rows of V-stitch in the blush color and then 2 in the white. And I quite like that. And you know what, I think I'm gonna actually add 2 more rows of white to the other blanket as well, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. If you don't crochet, and so you don't have that ability to make the border, put a fringe on your blanket. Fringes look beautiful too, and you can easily do that. I haven't got well, by the time you see this video, you might see a video there that I've done on how I do my fringe, but if it's not there when you click through my videos, it will be coming up in due time. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this video. I also want to point out that with my blankets, I always sell this little beanie, this little bear beanie for an infant. And so I will be making a tutorial on that too. Again, when you click on this video, if you don't see the tutorial there for this, it will be eventually coming. And then I make, this is an Addi bear, but I call it the cuddle bear. I just think because little hands cuddle it so much, I've actually made and sold like seriously a lot of these. And they're just so soft and wonderful for kids. And so I call them a cuddle bear because that's what they do. They cuddle them when they're in their, you know, in their little hands. And so for me, I often promote these 2 with the blanket and sell them as a set. So just an idea for you to do as well. So look for those videos. If they're not there at this point, again, just remember that they're coming soon, so be watching for them. Okay, so enjoy this video. I am so thankful that you clicked on it, and I hope that you enjoy making a blanket for yourself, for a present, to sell, whatever the case be for you. Enjoy, have fun, my friends. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so let's begin our project. I know you're going to enjoy this project. It's a great one. It seems to work up really quickly and just has such a beautiful result to it. So let's bring your last white needle and your first black needle in line with your yarn guide. I mark my red peg that's in between those 2 needles with a permanent felt marker so I can see easily when it's coming up. That's very helpful when I'm changing colors in the middle of a project so I don't pass where I need to end. I can see it coming up. So just a quick little tip that hopefully you can make use of as well. Okay, so for this project, we're going to do a long tail cast on. So put your end into the center. Put your yarn behind your first black needle in front of the next, behind and in front all the way around till you get to the last white needle. And at that point, your yarn should be behind it, just like that. Open your yarn guide, insert your yarn, close the guide. And I usually do about 7 or 8 rows. First couple can be a little sticky, and then we can get going. This is 6, and 1 more, 7. So when I'm halfway around or so, I make a point of stopping, and then I change my my counter to zeros so that when I get to the beginning, it's ready to count. I like to count, have my machine set so that it's counting the rows I'm actually working on rather than counting the row when I'm finished it. So I set it to 0 halfway through my last round of waste yarn. Then it's ready to go. Cut off your waste yarn just like that. Open your latch, take out your waste yarn, put it in the end in between those two needles, grab your working yarn. Doesn't matter which color you grab, we're working with 2 colors, and we can and we just alternate them through the project. And so then when we are finished the project and are joining them together, we just have to flip the panel if it's not if you started with a different color. So I'm using the Spa and the white. Generally, I just start with a darker color and end with a lighter, and then it's just consistent for me and I won't make any mistakes that way. Well, at least I'll try not to make any mistakes. Okay, so once you have your yarn ready to go, I hold the 2 ends, the waste yarn end and the working yarn end, and then I crank my handle till I get 3 needles, 3 or 4 that have worked. And then I take the 2 ends of my working yarn and I give it a little tug. Now you'll see that it went underneath this red peg. If you didn't see that, then just back up just ever so slightly and you'll see that that's done. The reason why I do that is because when I take my project off the machine and turn it to the right side out, you don't notice that where you don't have loose stitches where you started your row, because you want it to be consistently even with all the rest. And sometimes when you take your project off, you'll know that you'll notice that at the beginning of the row your stitches are looser than the rest. So I find that really prevents it. So 3 or 4 at the most, and then give it a little tug. Then I hold my yarn in between my fingers just like this. I don't put any really pressure on it, just a slight pressure. Just so that I can feel it coming through my fingers. And then here we go. And we're going to do, it's a little snug in my ball, so I have to make sure there's not a tightness coming out of your ball when you're working. Otherwise your stitches will be all wonky as well. So there we go. Now I do 3 rows. Bear with me as I'm struggling with this yarn. I do 3 rows. And then I stop and I tie this. Now because it's the first row, I just give it 1 knot. When I'm switching yarn, I do the same thing after about row 3, but I tie a double knot so that it doesn't come loose. And we're gonna do 25 rows. So I'll see you back when you get to 25. You can pause the video and then I'll see you back at around row 25. Okay, I'm coming up to row 25. So I'm gonna finish that with you. It clicked on 25, so I'm gonna finish that row. This green yarn is giving me, so much trouble. I ripped it out 3 times, and then I decided that I was going to get a little piece of fabric softener sheet. It's not unscented, no chemical free, and I know that there are some out there who just don't think it's healthy for the babies to have that, but I pre-wash my blankets if I have to use this a lot, then I will at the customer's request, I will pre-wash my blankets in scent-free, chemical-free detergent before giving it to them. I just find sometimes that is the only solution, and I don't use it for the whole, for a length of time. I just use it so I can get this thing going, and then I will stop with it. But I guess it's the dryness in my home. We try to keep it the air really good in here, but sometimes it just doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get static, and then it gives you dropped stitches, and it's just not fun. So it's a little bit tight, but what I just did was I cut off, I got my row 25 done, so I cut off my yarn, put it in the center of my machine. I'm going to grab my second color, do the same thing, put it into the yarn guide, into the center of the machine. I'm going to do 3, see how tight it is to turn, 3 needles, then I'm going to give it a little tug till that's under there. And sometimes it's because you're holding the yarn with too much tension, but I am hardly using any tension. So it's just one of those days where the machine just is saying, Shelley, I'm going to make you work hard and teach you some patience today. So that's exactly what's happening. So here we go. So we got 25 rows done. Change our yarn. We're going to do another 25 rows. So then when my machine hits 50, I'm going to finish that row. and then I'm going to change my yarn again, and I'm going to keep doing that every 25 rows till I get to 200. So then that will give me 4 panels of each color alternating. So let's just get this one started. There, now we're done the green first row, so it's gonna be great now. So I do 3 rows, 3 or 4 rows, then I'm gonna take these 2 ends, give them a little tie till you see both stitches on both sides, just pulling a little bit, so then you don't have a gap in your work when you're done. Give it a double knot. I cut it off about 2 or 3 inches, however long you want. Tuck it in there and keep going. Okay, so I'm going to do that till I get to row 50, and then I'm going to alternate again until I get to 200. Every 25 rows alternating. So have fun, enjoy working on your machine, and we'll see you when you're done your first panel. Okay, before I get to the end of this first panel that we're working on, I thought I would show you what I have done to fix my problem with the green yarn. Rather than have it in this tension, I took it out and I put it in this looser tension. And it seemed to make a big difference. So now we're going around with no problems. So there you go. That was a quick fix. Okay, we're coming up to our 200th row, and when you get to the last panel, it should be the opposite color of what you started with. Okay, so it clicked on 200. I'm going to finish that row. I see that black marked peg coming around, so I know I'm at the end. I'm going to snip off that working yarn, open my yarn guide, put it between the first black and the last white needle, grab your contrasting color of waste yarn, put it in just like you would do a color change. And again, I do 3 rows. I give it a little tie, just 1 tie, not a double knot, because this you have to untie in a second, but I just want to make sure it doesn't slip off. I got to get my table adjusted so it, I'm going to say this is 7, so it doesn't wiggle so much. This is an old table that my husband made when he was in junior high many years ago. And I've got my bigger Addi. I'll just tilt my camera here so you can see. On the one end. And my smaller one on this end. And on this end, it's got a double shelf to it. So on this end, he has drilled a hole for me down in here, like underneath, so that this panel can go down into the hole. And I can like pull it out like this. See, I've got it way over here. It comes out down the side, so I can let it fall down the side, so that, you know, it remains, it has tension on it when it's getting a little bit longer. With my bigger machine, I roll it up into a donut, and that gives it the tension that I need around the outside here as I'm knitting a longer and longer panel. But for the Addi 22, you can't really do a donut. It's just it's very hard. Some of you might try and maybe you're successful, but I can't make it get into a donut. It's just too narrow. So we decided to sacrifice the table and make a hole in the center. And it's just like amazing. So if you have a table that you can drill a hole into the center, that's even with your circle here, for your smaller Addi, then you'll benefit from it. It's just a great idea. Okay. So now that we have cut our waste yarn and put it between the last white and the first black needle and into the center, we're just going to turn. Now I grab my project from underneath, just give it a little tension. Still, those last 2 pegs often give me a little grief, as I'm sure they do you. So that's okay, you can just take them out. See, there's my hole right there. You can see. So it works amazing, and I would encourage you to try doing that if you're having trouble with the length of your panels and having nowhere for them to go. Okay, so we're going to now join the ends with a crochet hook and make it a flat panel. So stick with me for that. Okay, so we are ready to close up the end of our tube. You know, I actually love doing this part. I don't find it tedious, I don't find it hard, I just find it very relaxing. Maybe because I pick up a crochet hook and put that in my hand and I actually love to crochet. So we're going to close this up. Grab yourself a crochet hook and 2 stitch markers. I choose to use bobby pins because for me, they're easy to put on, easy to take out. They don't fall out because they're long. They're just wonderful. So you're going to find your waste yarn end and you're going to pull on it and see which stitch that's coming out of. And for me, it's this green one. So I'm going to put my stitch marker in there and then I'm going to take my working yarn and I see that it comes out of this one, but it loops up to this one. So you don't take this bottom one, you take the top one because that's the last row, okay? So then you put your stitch marker in there. And then we're going to, we know that there's 22 stitches. Each one of these little loops is a stitch. And we're going to pick those up. So because there's 22, I want to get exactly half over. I don't want to start over here and start going. I want to go exactly half. So I'm going to count 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I know these two, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So see, that was a little bit off centered. So that's, I know. 11 and 12 are the middle. So I'm going to put my hook under 12. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to pick up 11. This is a little finicky because I'm holding my hands a little far from me because I want to get a good camera angle. So apologize if I go off camera a bit and then come back on. And then I go down to the bottom row and I pick up that green loop that's there. This is why a contrasting color with waste yarn is just the best because there's no guessing where your stitches are, okay? And I keep going up and down, grabbing that stitch and pulling it through the loop that's on the hook. This one's a little tight for some reason, I'm not sure why, but it is. And then we're going to just keep doing that all the way down the row. Now when I'm not talking on camera and I'm actually really concentrating on what I'm doing, I count so I make sure I pick up all 22 stitches because you know if you miss one of these little loops, when you pull off your waste yarn, you're going to drop that stitch and it's going to unravel all the way down your panel. That row is going to unravel all the way down. If that does happen, don't panic. You can easily fix that too. Just count and make sure you've got all your stitches. I know I need 22. So you've seen what I did there. I pulled up on my bobby pin. Sometimes when you get to the end of the row, the stitch is really tight. So I just pull up on my bobby pin, insert my hook underneath, pull out my pin, finish off my stitch there, wrap the waste yarn or the working yarn around my working yarn end around my crochet hook, pull it through that loop and pull. Now let's just see which end this is. Okay, good. This is the tough end. So I can show you how to do that. So one end unravels really easily, the other end not so much. And so when you find your waste yarn end, what you're going to do is just go down the row just about 4 or 5 stitches, unroll it, and pick up that top loop. Okay? Then pinch the stitch that's to the left of it. Otherwise, it's going to gather your whole project. And then pull on that loop. Then go around a few more times. Unroll it, grab the top one, pinch that stitch that's just to the left and pull. It prevents it from gathering here while you're doing that. Go around, continue doing that, pinch the stitch and pull until you get the first row out. If you do it this way, grabbing and pinching, you probably will never have a tangled mess unless it's tangling around this piece of yarn, which you want to watch as well, okay? So now that I got that off, look at how easy that is to unwind. Just comes off like a dream. The other end you just pull. You close it the same way and you just pull it and it comes off without you having to pull the first row. And you'll see, because when you get to the other end, you'll notice it's probably already starting to unravel. This one's a little finicky because you could lose it. It just unravels so easily just by pulling on that. So close it up the same way and then just pull on that end and it will be, it will come off easily for you. Okay, so that's how you close the end of a flat panel. Okay, so now we're at the point where we are going to put our panels together. I've done most of my panels. I'm just working on the last one now, just so I can show you. But I just love this simple
small kind of braid looking kind of join. I don't know what it's called, to be honest with you. If anybody knows the name of this join, please put it in my comments so that I can use it in some of my videos that I'll do in the future. Because I looked it up and I really don't know what it's called. It's done with a crochet hook, and we're going to get right to it. Okay, so you're going to, what I do, just a little tip, is I put a stitch marker, which of course for me is always a bobby pin, on this. This is the right side of the blanket, and I put a bobby pin there just so that I always am braiding from the same end all the way down. I always want to start on this end across to go down so that these little V's are all going in the same direction, and I always want to do my braid on the same side so that because both the back and the front look a little bit different, so I want it to be the same right across, consistent. So I'm going to grab my next panel and let's just get to work, and I'll show you what we have to do here. Okay, we've got our two sides together, making sure, of course, that the stitch marker is on the facing you, so that your panels are together like this. I'm joining this one to my blanket. Okay, so one very, very important thing that you have to keep in mind is that when you have your sides together, you want to make sure that your side panel of stitches has the V that's wider at the bottom, so it's pointing going up and it's wider at the bottom. Okay, on both sides. I don't know if you can see it really well with my white yarn here, but both are even. So if your very side panel looks like this, like when you have it what you think is the side, and you got one where the V's are going down, just give it a half a row twist, because it's very important that you have it the same, and it's very important that both are, the wide end of the V goes down. Okay, so then you line it up, you grab your crochet hook. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter hook, but really, it doesn't matter. You don't want to use much bigger because it's harder to get in those stitches, but a 3.5 to a 4.5 is probably the right size for you to use. Okay, and we're going to grab the bars that are in the middle of these stitches. Now you can start up here if you want on the very first one, but I find it very, very tight. So I actually don't. I start the second one down, and then with my tail end, that I have, like the tail end from my project, which I don't have on this one actually, so I have to join one. Then I sew it together, so it's easier to do that way. Okay, so you're going to put your hook under that bar, then you're going to go across, and you're going to do the same thing on that side. Then you're going to pull that green bar through the white one. Okay, now you'll see that this is the stitch that's being worked right there. So I'm going to just go down to the next one, pull that bar, put it through the green. That's the one that was being worked, so I'll go to the next one. Grab the bar, grab the bar. It's really quite easy, and that's just all you do. Pull it up just a little bit so you can get it through. Now that I've got a few joined here, I'll show you. See, you can see that right here, it's a bigger gap, so you know that that's the one that's been worked already. Okay, so then you count 1, 2. So this bar you're not going to pick up. It's actually every second bar. So you're you count this one as 1, this one as 2, and then you go underneath and you pick that one up. Okay, so it's really every second stitch. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and there's a bar that I'm missing in between each of these. Okay, so you go like this all the way down, making sure not to twist your row. You want to stop and pause a bit to even up your rows there, so that you're following the same line all the way down, the same row of stitches. You do not want to twist your project and pick up the wrong row. Okay, and then you just keep going just like this all the way down. I'm going to just get you to the first color change section here. Because sometimes that one's a little hard to pick up. Okay, so in this instance, it picked up, this is where the color change stitch is, and you know that there's a knot there from when you tied it. And if there's a knot there, actually it was on this side over here, so I don't have to worry about it here, but sometimes you get on the side where there's the knot. Just wiggle around in there until you find a single bar. Don't pull your knot up and through this, this loop on your hook. Fiddle around till you find a single bar. And if you just absolutely can't, then skip a third one and go down, but make sure you do it on both sides. And then if you find there's a little bit of a gap there after, you can go in and just seam that a little bit. But I've never had to do that. I've always been able to find a bar. So then you just keep going. Now, if you followed the pattern correctly and you did every section 25 rows and the whole panel 200 rows, then there should be no reason why this doesn't always line up. Okay. And if one tube looks like it's a little bit longer than the other, that just could be because when you stretched it, you used a little bit more pressure on one than on the other, but you still have the same number of stitches. So this will always work out for you. Okay, so that's how you continue down the row, just like that, till you get to the end. And then I'll show you what I do at the end. Okay, I'm down to the end here, and I'm just going to continue in the same manner until I get there. Okay, now I go up as far as I feel comfortable. See, this one lines up on this one here, and so it's not tight, so I can actually grab that loop. It worked for me, but sometimes it doesn't, and so then I just miss it. And then I go across and I go up underneath the end stitch of that section. I grab my tail that was left, and I pull it through both stitches, just like that. Then I yarn over, pull it through the loop, and pull it tight. And that's how I finish. If you haven't left a long enough end like this to do that, then I weave this in underneath here. But if you haven't left a long enough tail to do that, then you just take an extra piece of yarn. Let me just grab one here. An extra piece of yarn. Put it through there like that. Longer than this, of course, but this is just what I have here that I can use while I'm videoing. Tie a knot, a double knot in it, just like that, and then you can work those ends through. So just seam it up that way, tie a double knot, and you know, you're probably going to put a border on anyway, so you won't see that. Or you can also do fringes. I love to do fringes on blankets as well. Of course, on a baby blanket, you do just a shorter one, but on the adult ones, I do a longer one, quite a bit longer. And I go into every second stitch along the side here. I'm going to actually be putting up a video on that. I haven't got it done yet. And maybe by the time you choose to do this blanket, it'll be up. Maybe not. And if it's not up when you are choosing to do this, then I'm sorry for that. But it will eventually get up. You can watch for it. Okay, so a fringe would be nice on there, or you can do a single crochet border if you know how to crochet. You can just leave it like this if you don't know how to do either or. And I am going to add my crocheted border to this blanket, and you will see that in the pictures when you clicked on this video. And if you like that crocheted border, then just hit the description arrow and go into my description here, and I will have the instructions there as to how I crocheted that border. Okay, hope that helps. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I hope that you get great pleasure in knitting projects for yourself, for gifts, for whatever the purpose is that you need it for, that it brings you much joy as you knit. So happy knitting, my friends. Take care.